You know, it's funny how things work in the system of racism, white supremacy, in order for you to prove somebody right in terms of Colin Kaepernick. So when Colin Kaepernick last year did his so-called controversial kneeling of the flag of the so-called national anthem and trying to raise awareness of domestic terrorism from law enforcement, aka suspected race soldiers. When he was trying to do that last year by simply trying to raise the conscious level of domestic terrorism and how law enforcement has been since the inception of law enforcement in 1789, how they have been brutalizing, terrorizing, and just destroying the lives of people classified as black or African American. Simply trying to raise awareness of social injustices coming from law enforcement. In order for you to prove somebody right, you have to put your life in line. You have to put your life on the line. And that's what Michael Bennett did. Michael Bennett was at the Floyd Mayweather-Conor McGregor fight, and footage just leaked that he was arrested, and the video pretty much shows him being hogtied by a wannabe race soldier. This was in Las Vegas, so this person who arrested him and a couple of other officers, so-called officers at the time, they look like they're classified as Hispanic, so that's why I call them wannabe race soldiers, right? But it shows Michael Bennett arrested, hogtied on his stomach. And I'm going to also read to you pretty much a letter indicating what happened, which is from Michael Bennett's account on Twitter. I'll get to that in a second. But he was out there in Vegas during the fight week, and allegedly there was a gunshot at a nearby hotel, and people started running. Michael Bennett was singled out, according to his story, by the Las Vegas Police Department. He was singled out and he was arrested or detained. I'm not exactly sure, but obviously you see him. He was handcuffed, obviously. You see him right here in the picture. And so also according to Michael Bennett, he was threatened by saying that the police, the so-called police officers, threatened to blow his effing head off, as you can see here. Okay. And so this is exactly what Colin Kaepernick was talking about. This type of behavior. And again, when you live in a system of racism, white supremacy, they don't care about your status. They don't care about your financial status, your social economical status, your political status, whatever the case may be. They don't care about that. When you live in a system of racism, white supremacy, the only thing that matters, the only status that matters is your melanin, your skin tone, your complexion, your darker hue, etc., etc. You are just a nigger in the system of racism, white supremacy. So you can be a all-time great NFL player like a Michael Bennett. You can be a billionaire like Oprah. Doesn't matter. When you live in a system of racism, white supremacy, the only thing that matters, according to the dominant white society, and even wannabe race soldiers, or wannabe suspected, or wannabe white supremacists, rather, is your skin tone. And this is exactly what's proven in this particular video that happened on August 26th. I'll play the video where you'll see what happened here from TMZ. And you see one of the wannabe race soldiers over the railing here. And you see Michael Bennett right there, hogtied, arrested on the floor. Obviously, you know, this is the only video footage that's surfaced. We don't know what happened prior to that, but according to Michael Bennett's account, his story, he says he was singled out and detained and handcuffed because of a gunshot that sounded off in the hotel while everybody was running. Okay. Again, obviously, nobody cares how much money you're making, your social, economical, political status. Nobody cares about that in the system of racism, white supremacy. The only thing that matters is your skin tone, and that is it. Bottom line. All right. So Michael Bennett proves Colin Kaepernick right. That we continue and we will always continue to have these social injustices of domestic terrorism by these so-called police officers, aka race soldiers, or wannabe race soldiers for this matter, people who are classified as Hispanic, etc., etc. Right? And again, I prove my point. I've talked about this article before. Young black men in 2016, that was last year, faced the highest rate of U.S. police killings. That was the reason why Colin Kaepernick protested. In order to raise the conscious level, you have to do something controversial, which is why he kneeled for the so-called national anthem. And I call it so-called national anthem because the national anthem does not represent me. It does not represent my ancestors or our people. This country was built on the slaves of black folk. This country was built on tyranny. The blood, sweat, and souls of our ancestors built this country. And it was not written, the so-called national anthem was not written for our ancestors in mind. Bottom line, we know this. All right. But like I said, black people were killed by police at more than twice the rate of white people in both 2015 and 2016. You see the chart right here, family. You see the chart right here. Okay. This is exactly why Colin Kaepernick was doing what he was doing last year. This is exactly why he is still not employed by the National Football League. This is the reason why I'm not watching the National Football League. Okay? I'm not watching it at all, point blank and simple. I accept the fact that Colin Kaepernick will not play in the NFL ever again. I accept that. And so we have to move on. I talked about, we have to start our own black-owned league, and I believe in separating from the dominant white society and having our own resources from top to bottom under every category on all 9 areas of activity. Once again, that's economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. All right. And until then, until we have our own separate league, infrastructure, network television, a YouTube-like social media platform, a Facebook-like social media platform, a Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram-like social media platform that is, rivals these white-owned companies, right? Until then, we will always have social injustices under the system of racism, white supremacy. We will continue to have that, always. And these stats are going to continue to be proven. In 2017, you're going to see the same stat appear again. Young black men face the highest rate of U.S. police killings. You're going to see that again in 2017, right? But Michael Bennett had wrote a letter, and I'll read it out to you guys on his Twitter account. It says, Dear World, on Saturday, August 26, 2017, I was in Las Vegas to attend the Mayweather-McGregor fight on my day off. After the fight, while heading back to my hotel, several hundred people heard what sounded like gunshots. Like many of the people in the area, I ran away from the sound looking for safety. Las Vegas police officers singled me out and pointed their guns at me for doing nothing more than simply being a black man in the wrong place at the wrong time. A police officer ordered me to get on the ground. As I laid on the ground, complying with his commands not to move, he placed his gun near my head and warned me that if I moved, he would blow my effing head off. Terrified and confused by what was taking place, a second officer came over and forcefully jammed his knee into my back, making it difficult for me to breathe. Then they clenched the handcuffs on my wrist so tight that my fingers went numb. The officer's excessive use of force was unbearable. I felt helpless as I lay there on the ground, handcuffed, facing the real-life threat of being killed. All I could think of was, I'm going to die for no other reason than I am black and my skin color is somehow a threat. Of course. My life flashed before my eyes as I thought about my girls. Would I ever play with them again? Or would I watch them have kids or be able to kiss my wife again and tell her I love her? I kept asking the officers, what did I do? And reminding them that I had rights that were duty bound to respect. The officers ignored my pleas and instead told me to shut up and then took me to the back of a nearby police car where I sat for what I felt like an eternity until they apparently realized I was not a thug, common criminal, or ordinary black man, but Michael Bennett, a famous professional football player. After confirming my identity, I was ultimately released without any legitimate justification for officers' abusive conduct. I was always held a strong conviction that protesting or standing up for justice is just simply the right thing to do. The fact is unequivocally, without question, why before every game I sit during the national anthem? Because equality doesn't live in this country, and no matter how much money you make, what job title you have, or how much you give, when you are seen as a nigger, you will be treated that way. The system failed me, and I can only imagine when Eric Gardner, Michael Brown, Trayvon Martin, Tamir Rice, and Sharnina Lyles felt. I have retained Oakland civil rights attorney John Burris to investigate and explore all my legal options, including filing a civil rights lawsuit for the violation of my constitutional rights. Ashe, brother. Ashe for that. Like that letter. I like that letter a lot. And also, Colin Kaepernick retweeted the letter. Saw it somewhere. But yeah, Colin Kaepernick responded to the letter and retweeted it. So it's got the respect from Colin Kaepernick and everybody else around the circles of Michael Bennett to basically co-sign his story. I believe him. You know, even though it's coming from one side, I believe him because of the fact that history shows since the inception of law enforcement, again, 1789, study the Judiciary Act of 1789, that domestic terrorism was legislated by law enforcement. When law enforcement was first incepted in 1789, they were simply brought on to catch runaway slaves, which are property, catch property and bring them back to their slave owners. Catch or kill the property that's running away, which were our ancestors. Bottom line. And it's basically the same thing, but it's evolved to this, where just like Michael Bennett says, and just like what I've been saying for quite some time, it doesn't matter your social, economical, political status. You are considered a threat because of your skin tone, because of your melanin. That is it, point blank and simple. And again, in order for you to prove somebody right about raising the consciousness level of social injustices, domestic terrorism, okay, I like to use that word domestic terrorism, not police brutality, because it is domestic terrorism of these so-called police officers, aka race soldiers or wannabe race soldiers. It's domestic terrorism. And again, the largest terrorist organization on the planet is the law enforcement department. Point blank and simple. The stats don't lie, just like I told y'all. Young black men again faced the highest rate of U.S. police killings in 2016. This trending stat continues to skyrocket, and 2017 will be no different. So history shows you that domestic terrorism coming from the law enforcement department continues and will always continue to be a problem. And raising awareness about social injustices when it comes to law enforcement and domestic terrorism by Colin Kaepernick. You have to put your life on the line to prove Colin Kaepernick was right. And of course he's right. And this is way before Colin Kaepernick. It's been an issue since 1789. All right? It just takes a prominent athlete to actually raise awareness about the issue, but the white supremacists, which is the owners, the billionaire boys club of the National Football League, they don't want to give him a job, obviously, because guess what? That affects their bottom line. Okay? You go against the fabric of the NFL, which has maintained the status of white supremacy, and if you go against that status, that pecking order, where you be emasculated into not defying the NFL, but following their rules, and code word, not disrespecting the so-called national anthem and the flag, that is an invitation for you to be banned from their organization. Bottom line. So that's why Colin Kaepernick is not employed. And I don't think he never will be in the NFL, which is, I'm fine with that. Like I said, we need our own infrastructure from top to bottom. All right? Bottom line. All right, family. So anyway, those are my thoughts on that. Leave your comments down below about the Michael Bennett situation. I hope that he gets as much money as possible from the Las Vegas Police Department. And they detained him, looked him up, and was like, "Oh, okay, he is a nigger NFL football player." You know what I'm saying? So it really took him that long to figure that out, according to Michael Bennett's story. And I'm just going by his one side. But history shows us, like I said, that these domestic terrorist organizations, which is the law enforcement department, is always going to be a huge problem. All right? Always. But like I said, I hope he gets as much money as possible in this civil lawsuit. Not only gets as much money as possible, but also gets a chance to do something about changing these laws or training something tangible out of this, where things have to change with the way law enforcement is basically being ran as a system that we live in today. Hopefully something like that comes out of this. But, just getting money, raping these guys of getting money from them, I'll be happy with that alone. I hope he gets millions of dollars from this particular lawsuit that he has right now. All right. So those are my thoughts on that, family. Leave your comments down below about what you think about this story. Let me know what you guys think. Did Michael Bennett prove that Colin Kaepernick was right and what Colin Kaepernick was doing last year and raising awareness about domestic terrorism from these goddamn law enforcement officers, a.k.a. wannabe race soldiers? Was he right? Let me know in the comment section down below, family. All right, family. Until next time, Chauncey, a.k.a. the Black Separatist, signing out. Peace.